Join us on the Swim Monkey.
Swim Monkey TV. On the Monkey.
Hey gang, Kara Cassidy here on Seahorse Tales from Florida Swim School. This is episode number 9, and I am thrilled to have 3 of my best friends from the swim school industry share with me this show where we're going to give you some tips on swimming, and we're actually going to talk about our different opinions on the skills that we decide to discuss. Guys, so looking back at when we met, I was like, okay, when did this happen? When did that happen? Because if it wasn't for the swim lessons and teaching swimming, we wouldn't know each other, right?
Right.
So I'm thinking, I knew I met Joe first, so I had to go back. I'm like, hey, what year was that? So it was my very first swim school conference in Washington, D.C. I didn't know a soul, no one, and I went by myself. I don't know what I was thinking, but it was the scariest thing ever. But I remember going into the first part of it that I attended it was like a round table, I think, Joe. And, there might have been 8 or 10 of us at the table. I think it was like restaurant style. It wasn't like it is now where there's just a ton of tables with a subject matter. And I just remember Joe speaking and be like, yeah, I'm from New Jersey. I'm like, wait, I'm from New Jersey. So I was like, okay, I got a connection. At least we could be friends, and then from then on, you stayed friends through all this, chatting back and forth, sharing ideas. And Joe, I asked you earlier if you had any idea what year it was. You were thinking 2003.
2003, I think, was DC. Yeah, that was my first national conference too. So I went alone as well, and so my whole plan for that trip was to meet some good people and share some ideas. And we had just been starting out. I was about 2 years into my business at the time when I first went to DC, and made some great friends there, and relationships that have lasted a lifetime. Actually, still to this day, I keep in touch with people that I met that day.
Yeah. I actually did a show not long ago on relationships through swimming, and this is exactly who we are. And then Linda and Sid, we met at the same conference, and I looked it up, and it was 2008.
Oh, okay. I was thinking maybe.
What did you think?
Was that Arizona or was that Florida?
Yeah, Arizona.
Okay.
So, it was like the same situation, the icebreaker, you have to turn around and talk to someone you've never seen before. It's like, so it was like Linda at one point, Sid at another point. But I'm really glad to have you guys here. So why don't you tell us, I'm in Florida, Boca Raton. So why don't you tell our viewers where you are, anything about your school? Are you open? How's it going? Everything's changed so much. I was counting today. I've been open 3 months now, closed for 8 weeks. So we're still not at full capacity because of the guidelines we have to take. But, that's another good thing about us having each other. We can talk and get through it and keep each other motivated. Linda?
Well, I'm in Northern California with American Swim Academy, and we actually have 5 locations in the East Bay area. And we are back open now. I think we're going on 6 weeks that we are back open. And we're probably at about 35-38% capacity right now of where we were, and we had to make some major changes. And but the families that are back are happy. We're happy. We're happy to be back in the water, and it's been fun. It's nice actually, kind of to have slowed down just a little bit and recollect.
Yeah, it's good to be back for sure. Hey, Sid.
Hi, yeah, I'm Los Angeles, LA Surf and Swim. We are back. What I like to say is we're working twice as hard for half as much, but it's great to be back. Everybody's really thrilled because of protocols. We're only about 40% of capacity as well. So yeah, we have 2 locations, and the beach is our 3rd location.
Cool. I like how the beach is your location. I have that too. All right, Joe.
So I'm in New Jersey, and we have 5 active locations that we're active pre-COVID. Now we reopened 4 of 5. One is in a school in Warren, New Jersey, which they are not opening anytime soon. We're looking to get back in there in the spring. And uniquely, we are building our 6th location, which is an 8,000 square foot build out in Brick, New Jersey, which is probably about 90% completed. We were shut down. Construction was shut down for about a month. So it slowed everything down, but we're up and running. July 6th, we opened up 4 of the schools. We opened up at about 25%. We're now up to almost 50% capacity year over. So meaning where we were last August, we're about 50%. So we'll take it. We're happy to be back too. The families are happy. The kids are happy to be back in the pool. Really nothing else that they can do here in New Jersey. So it's limited for the kids and what they're doing. So parents are so grateful to have us, even though it does, like you said, Sid, take twice the effort. And our teams have been out front of this, but providing a safe as possible environment for the kids to swim. So everyone's happy. We're happy.
Yeah, I feel like that's the common denominator for all of us that we all said is that the families who are coming in are really happy that we're back open, that their kids can come back and learn that important skill of learning to swim. So, for sure. So what I wanted to do, which I thought would be kind of fun, instead of just having a list of topics, Dan has a question. Let's see. In your swim programs, do your students learn all 4 strokes? Well, in mine they do, and I believe everyone else, but go ahead. You guys can answer.
Yeah, we do 4. I wish I could come up with a 5th or 6th, but so far we're just sticking with those 4.
I'd actually like to remove breaststroke, but
We actually teach 5. We start with elementary backstroke as our first propulsion stroke on their back, which we will probably talk about floating and whatnot. But that's the first stroke that we teach as a water safety stroke. It's the only stroke you can do with a life jacket on, should we fall off a boat or something like that. So we teach elementary backstroke first as part of propulsion, and then competitive strokes after that.
I'll add a stroke and say flip turns, because we do teach flip turns too. So, but anyway, Dan Harrigan was an Olympic medalist. Thanks for watching, Dan. And backstroke. So there you go. He can tell us if it's a yay or nay. So I have some, go ahead.
Yeah, we did have somebody come in yesterday and request the Navy SEAL combat stroke.
Okay.
Really strange. We taught the lesson, one of my guys, but we had to look at YouTube. It's a combination of butterfly, breaststroke, and a side stroke. It's really, really different. I'm not sure it's the best stroke, but I think it's maybe the quietest way you could swim and go a long distance is the only thing I could see out of it. But there is kind of a combat stroke. So
I'd love to see video of that.
What's that?
I'd love to see video of that.
I'll send you a link.
Okay. It sounds sneaky.
Yeah, it is.
I think probably when we all started teaching swimming lessons or what have you, the side stroke was prevalent back then, right? With lifeguarding and whatnot. It's all they taught. Pick an apple from the tree, put it in your hand, put it in the basket.
Yeah. We don't teach side stroke anymore. We used to do it. We don't do that anymore.
We don't either.
We do teach elementary backstroke as a safety stroke, but we mainly focus on the 4 competitive strokes.
Yeah. And even with the babies and the little ones, you start with the right body position, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it can evolve properly. All right, so I put some topics together in this handy little bowl I have, and I'm the only one here, so I have to pick.
Don't look.
All right, Dan. Dan wants to get back into swimming, I think. Joe?
To Dan's question, is elementary backstroke with simultaneous arms recovery? Yes, we do that. We call it tickle bend TV snap. So pretend we're zipping up the sides of our body. And see, I remember how to teach swimming. You zip up to here, and then you're quietly extending your arms out for the recovery section. So yes, that's absolutely right.
I thought it was something about a soldier.
Monkey, airplane, soldier.
Yeah. So that's been a while since I did it. Maybe we need to bring that back. So thanks. My staff will be thrilled. Something new. Okay, let me see what I pick out here. We're going to do all of them, so it really doesn't matter. But we'll start with, all right. How do you respond when a parent calls or comes in for their lesson or is even in lessons for a month or a day and says, how long will it take? Do you have an answer?
Every kid.
Sid. Go ahead, Sid. This is your question.
No, we say every kid is unique and special. Some kids can pick it up in a couple of days. Some kids are going to take a couple of years. That's not really what they want to hear. If they keep pushing, I'll kind of go back to maybe, if we can get 6 in, if it's not afraid of the water or the texture of water in their face, then in 6 lessons they can be, on their way. But we try not to be specific.
Well, it depends too on what their definition of swimming is.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. That's a great one to ask them back. What's your definition of swimming?
Yeah.
Yeah, we try to go back to remind them that all children learn at their own pace. Just as they learn to read or ride a bike, depends on a lot of different things, whether they're fearful or not. They have the athletic ability enough to be able to do it, et cetera. You have to tread lightly there, but some children just have apprehension from learning, so it takes longer, and we have to deal with that first. So we have to know what we're dealing with their particular child and try to address it like that. But it is the $1 million question.
Yeah.
Years, I always tell them that.
Yeah. Forever. I'm still learning.
Well, it never ends. I'm sorry. Everybody, you have to keep practicing all the time, and refining technique. So it never ends, just like everything. It never ends.
Yeah. So, I mean, for us here, we just try to keep educating and explaining to the parent what's really going on. It's comfort, it's coordination, and then it's like you said before, what do you mean by learning to swim? Well, how do you define it? And then we give our definition, and then that's what we follow. That's what the American Academy of Pediatrics says. The basic swimming skills of being able to jump in, get back to the wall, being able to get on your back, being able to propel yourself forward and get on your back, everything independently. So, it takes a while, because you want them to be efficient at it, and they have to keep practicing it. If they just do it once, it doesn't mean they've got it.
Well, and like you said, it depends on what their opportunities are to practice outside of class. If they're coming, like most people, they're busy. Well, not right now, but in real life, most people are busy. And so once a week doing something for 30 minutes once a week, it's going to be slow. I
don't know if you guys have had this happen, but this is kind of funny when somebody will ask that question to me, and sometimes I'm looking at the pool and they're swimming. So I'm like, when are they going to learn to swim? I'm like, well, they're swimming right now. Okay, but then you get that redefined. No, I mean doing good side breaths. Oh, okay, well that's different, But it's funny. I've actually had that done when they're already swimming. That question.
Yeah, for sure. Dan, hi. What younger swimmers want to swim competitively? Actually, we use our program as a feeder to our club team, that's St. Andrews Aquatics, and we have plenty of them going over daily, and when they're ready, we tell the parents. But I want to say sometimes they're not interested in doing the competitive swimming, but they like swimming, so they might not like the back and forth thing. So we are introducing water polo in our lessons, so as an option for them to go to.
That's great.
That's fun.
Yeah, and to that end too, not all of our swimmers end up competitive swimmers either. And we're on the coast here in New Jersey, and it leads an opportunity for being what Sid will call a complete waterman or water person, where they can experience all sorts of activities in the water, and that's really our goal, is to get the kids to have an appreciation for the water and the ocean and be out there, whether it's competitive in a swim meet or a surf contest or whatever it might be. My kids gravitate towards surfing versus swimming competitively, personally.
Yeah.
Lucky for you.
All right, let's see what's next.
I saw a couple questions pop up.
Okay.
No.
Go ahead, Linda, you want to answer?
Well, I mean, I think as a baby, as an infant, 5-6 months is so great, just to acclimate to being under the water and in the water. You see, I mean, you guys see it all the time too, but the ones that start at a young age and stick with it, they're swimming at 3 and 4. You know, they're not going to learn freestyle or any stroke really at 6 or 8 months. But my gosh, the development that they get in the water, and they just become one with the water, and you don't go through that awkward stiff stage of, you know, they're so scared and tense, and they don't muscle, you know, it's just, the younger the better, I say. Then they're swimming at 3 and 4, but they have to stick with it.
Yeah, for sure. And I like that too, because I tell the parents, you know, look, if you have your child who is a year and they're starting to swim now, and then by 3, maybe 4, whatever it is, they're independently swimming, no problem. You're at the pool with them, but you can just watch them and you make sure you're there with them, but you don't have to be hands-on. Whereas the 4-year-old who's starting, they're not going to be swimming until they're 5. So, I mean, there's really, or more. So, good point. There was a question. Go ahead.
No, I say sometimes I'll have a good rapport with the parent, and I'll say, you know, we have 11 color level system, and I'm like, you know, at red you got to be in the water, you know what I mean? At yellow you got to be close to the water. I'm like, at green you can read a magazine but be near the water, you know. At orange you can have a wine and read a magazine, you know. It's just kind of give them some parameter to look forward to.
You're right, Joe. I saw another question, something about fins, and I was going to give that to Sid, because I know Sid does a lot of fins.
Yeah. Okay, use fins. Here's the thing that drives me crazy about fins, and this is kind of an old school mentality, but I'll hear parents or somebody say, oh, that's cheating, wearing fins. Oh. And you know, we body surf. I mean, every mammal that does well in the water has a fin on, you know? And so I really want to, it's a great training tool. It's great for the kids to get the feeling of propulsion when their brains and heads are so much bigger than their hands and feet for a number of years, because the brain develops first. They're not going to get that propulsion. They're going to move, but they're not going to feel that wow. And so I love fins. I wish everybody that traveled on a vacation to a beach brought beach fins with them. If you're in the ocean environment and you've got fins on, it's pretty darn hard to get in trouble. I mean, you can get out of any situation, but yeah, it just bugs me when people are like, oh, that's a crutch. I'm like, no, it's not a crutch.
Yeah. What about you, Joe?
We were teaching with fins for a while, especially for our toddlers. And I think that what happened was with putting the fins on and off during the class, it took up too much time for the kids and taking away from their swimming time. So I do like the use of fins for toddlers learning. And like you said, they don't get the propulsion. The fins promote their proper kicking and actually moving the water with your foot versus an up and down motion of kicking, being stiff-footed. So yeah, we do promote the use of fins as well. But I want to get back to the early age swimming lessons, and not just for the skills, but for the awareness in and around the pool. We start our water babies at 3 months old, and just the babies that are crawling at 5-6 months, the babies that are in our pool regularly know what's going to happen to them should they walk up to the edge of a pool. They can't walk across it. They know they're going to go down into the water. You have a baby that's never had that experience. They think that water is a solid and they can walk across it. And I think that's the difference too. And Linda talked about not being too heavy on the specific skills of the baby ages, but the awareness and the experience of being around the pool and knowing what's going to happen to you is so paramount in getting them started. And like I said, we do it at 3 months.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I love that too. Also, we start at 3 months, and we're very transparent about, hey, like Linda said, you're not going to be swimming at 3 months, 5 months, but they're going to be used to the environment when those skills develop. So they're really going to be ahead of it, So I love having the little babies and the parents in as well, because then the parents hear what we're actually teaching, and it's not just a singing time. There's actually something going on. So I like to have the parents involved.
Getting back to the babies, and my first swim conference, I sat with John Colbelson and the late Tyler Brewer, and Jim Hazen from New York, and they were talking about water babies, and they were asking me about my program. I said, "Oh, I don't start them until they're 4." And John Colbelson said, "Well, we have 5,000 kids in our program, and 70% of them are under 3." So I wrote that note down, went back home, and developed my water babies program. And I'm happy to say that about 25% of our population right now is in the water babies program. Which is something that I've really grown to love, especially since having my kids in the water and testing out some theories and things. It's been great.
Yeah, awesome. Well, my son was the guinea pig for me. I was my first student, so it was a lot of fun to figure it out and safely.
It looks like you succeeded with him. Yeah.
I want to throw this question out. What do you guys, how often and how do you handle it when you have a parent that says, parent talk class, I don't want to get in?
Yeah.
I want them to get in. So what do you guys do in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, that happens a lot here. A lot of times the nanny's bringing them anyway. So we just say what the difference will be. If the child's crying because there's separation, we're going to tell them that's why they're crying. It would be best if an adult would get in the water with them because we want them to be happy. And we just also say the lesson is not causing them to cry ever. It's not what's going on in the pool. It would be because you're not there. And still some of me like, it'll be fine. I'll just wait. Keep going. They'll get over. They'll get over it. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, we've seen quite a change in the belief system of parents. I don't know if the generational changes are happening, the millennials becoming parents or whatever it might be, but I feel like parents are certainly more engaged now than they were 10, 15 years ago when we started the Water Babies program, and the stereotype of getting in and face it, like the lessons for both of you. We want you to be able to teach your own child what the good habits are when you're practicing with them. And you can't do that from the sidelines. So jump in, get your suit on. We're going to get through this together. And it's a fun time, and it's a time to bond. And like getting back to, COVID and quarantine, even babies, when they first come out of, 3 months old, there's not a lot of activities that you can do with your 3-month-old. So it's something to look forward to Tuesdays at 11 or whatever it might be. And it's a fun time for the parents.
Well, the parents get so much out of it. Really, what other activity can you do with your child at such a young age? And you can't take your cell phone or your computer in there with you. So you have to be engaged with your child. And oh my gosh, the bonding is it's amazing, especially when they learn how to work together and not fight their child.
And they're meeting other parents that are doing the same thing. Sorry, Sid.
No, it's okay. You know what? I really like to encourage dads to be the one that gets in the water with their kids. Because at that young age, the mom they're breastfeeding. They're so attached to mom, and dads, they get asked to change them a couple times. But they don't have that. They're not dependent on dad until they get 3-4 years old, let's say. So I love it and something about having that child down low and face level and being horizontal. That's just a connection that they're just not going to get at home.
Yeah, I think our Saturdays are for the dads. We have a lot of dads getting in the pool with the babies. It's awesome.
We had an instructor that would sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" or "Ballpark" with all the dads instead of ABCs or Itsy Bitsy Spider, and the dads would just have so much fun with that.
I love it. That's awesome, as it should be. Right, well, the next one was babies, and we already touched on that big time.
Well, this is a good question that just came up, Kara. Do you want to talk about this?
Yeah. How do you calm the anxiety of parents when introducing submersion in the baby program? Linda is our expert baby instructor. She is the supervisor of all the baby teachers at her swim school. So go ahead, Linda.
Well, we have to know what we're talking about, and we have to, there has to be a lot of education to the parents and show them that what we do works, and we go slow and explain what we're doing and why we're doing it and how it works. I think that's what it is. We have to explain to the parents so they understand the why behind everything, and they see it. They see their child prep, and the communication is so important. We have to communicate with the parents, taking it slow, making sure the parent's comfortable. A lot of demonstration with baby dolls and pointing out what we're seeing from their own child when we see that their child's ready after all of our consistent cueing and looking for what it means for the child to be prepared to go underwater. And it's a process, and they have to understand the process. It goes slowly, and we build.
Yeah, and sometimes those parents are not going to be comfortable doing the submersion, and we make sure we express that all the time. Like, hey, if you're not ready, we'll do it for you. When you're ready, you're going to do it, but your child is ready, and this is why, just like you said, Linda, you're doing all the activities of getting them ready, the breath control exercises and stuff that they can practice in the tub at home.
But I wonder if you guys are like me, where I really first couple classes want to do all the submersions to the parents because they're just not good at it,
Yes.
And so I like to do them all, then work up once I know their kid's good. Okay, now you practice one. But I hate to have a new parent put their kid under; they just don't do it well.
Yeah, we do all of our first submersions for the parents, and then let them try after.
Yeah, I meant more like afterward when it's like the activities, okay, 3 submersions to the wall, and the parents are just like, ah, we're like, okay, we'll do it and guide. So.
Well, it definitely takes practice, and like you said, preparing them with the cues ahead of time, and also the physiology. Teaching them about the mammalian reflex, and letting them know that they're okay. They're going to be okay. I remember submerging my son when he was 3 months. My daughter was 8, and she said, "Dad, you're going to kill him." So I had to teach her, so she wasn't concerned, and now she does it. So it's great. So
cool. I want to see, I didn't get to read all this. Chuck Jacobs. Does anybody have swim schools near there we go. Military bases? I don't have that. Military swim calls for second class. Anyone looking to go to become a warrant office to fly? If anybody watching has a swim school near military, here's an idea. So I don't personally hear. I don't know if you guys do.
I don't.
Okay.
We don't.
But thanks for bringing that up.
But I've had people come in that are trying to join Navy SEALs and have to work on their swimming, which is fun and usually they're good on land but not so good in the water. So
we've had a couple who are going into law enforcement. Same thing. We have to pass a swim test in 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, do you know how to swim at all? No. Okay. Okay, let's see. All right. So I have this one that I came up with after Linda made the suggestion. So I added to hers, and hers will come up again. Teachers earning trust in the children. We obviously know it's important, but people watching might not know that that's part of what we do. We're not just going to say, okay, here, it's time to go here, it's time to go there, go get that. It's a whole relationship we're building with each child. So it's pretty in depth. What do you guys think?
Yeah, well, for us, one of the main things, our goal for the first lesson is exclusively this: make them want to come back for the second lesson. That's huge. You have to build rapport with the kids, whether you're asking them about their Halloween outfits or what have you. But being able to get them to trust you to be able to lead them through the lesson is paramount on what we do. If you don't have their trust and they are operating from a fear space, they're not going to achieve the skills that we want. So building that rapport is, it's the main thing that we do.
Yeah, super important. And I think the only time you have to express it more to the parents is when they're getting impatient with the way the skills are progressing. It's like, hey, if they're enjoying it, that's number one. They have to be comfortable or they're not going to progress.
Well, and then like you were saying, Joe, the building that trust, and then no sneak attacks. You can't build that trust and then just sneak attack them and do something that they're not ready for. Then you lose that trust. And that's I always go back to the baby classes, but we have to tell our parents that all the time. Build the trust and then no sneak attacks, because they will stop.
I love that. I love the sneak attack. And you always see when you go to like a community pool or a town pool, you see the dad, typically, not to be stereotypical, but the dad with the child chasing them across the pool and them running backwards, so they can take one or two more strokes, but they're really just operating out of fear, trying to catch them to save them. We stay grounded when their child is doing their first couple glides or whatever to us. We want them to know that we are an anchor. We are here. We are not moving backwards. When you start to begin, you're coming to me. Even if it's 1 foot, I'm not going to move. So things like that. I love that. No sneak attacks.
Yeah.
Sneak a dunk.
I'm going to use that. And it's like, you have to make sure if you tell them you're going to do something, you have to do it. And if they say, oh, I don't want to do that anymore, so you have to say, I already said, you got 2 more times, and then you can, pick something else or however it works. But, we're parenting.
It's funny. I can still remember when I was maybe 3 and my dad did what Joe was talking about. And I couldn't believe that he kept moving back, because I was like, I'm dying here. I just need to get a breath. And he kept moving. And I don't remember a lot, but I remember that. I didn't like it.
Yeah. And the parent thinks they're swimming across the pool.
Yeah, no, they're panicked. Yeah.
They're in survival mode.
Which I think is a good thing for parents to do, because it's how we teach them. You guys probably do the same thing. But if you're in a track stance, when you got 1 foot in front of the other, you can lean back and create 3 or 4 more feet for them to swim without having to take a step. You can lean forward, you can lean back. If your feet are side by side each other, you can't lean back. That's why I like a staggered stance to do that teaching.
Good point. I like that. Thanks, Sid. Yeah. Cool. All right. I have one for Joe Omi. Backflow. Let's talk about backflow.
Yeah. Learn to float. That's basically our whole philosophy is based on it. And it was funny because it just came up yesterday in a team training, how the learn to float philosophy became what it was. And we do really intensive trainings with our team, 40, 60, 80 hours sometimes. We do web-based training and water-based training, obviously. But getting in the water the first time when I became a swim teacher or a WSI when I was 16, they put me in a group of kids with 5 kids, and they never taught me anything on how to teach swimming lessons. The guy next to me started to turn his kids over and get them to their back float, and I started to do it, and I basically built a career out of it. Getting children to learn to float, get them on their back so they can be comfortable and relaxed. Once they're comfortable and relaxed, you see their heart rates go down, their muscles relax, and they can get themselves into better swimming positions. I mean, it's huge. That's all we do.
I have a question for Joe with that. Joe, what do you do? I'd say we have maybe 35-40% of the kids who can't stand the water in their ears and getting back and relax. They're miserable. Sometimes I feel like I see a coach that's standing still. There's not a lot of movement going on. Whereas you're on your stomach, you're churning. They can see what's under the water. So, what do you do about that with the ears?
One of the things that we talk to our teachers about is having the ears completely submerged and not having it half submerged where the water's lapping in and out. And I have the teacher, if I watch a teacher that's training or a new teacher or a parent that's doing a back float, I have them do the experience where their water's going in and out of the ears and just laying back in that position to feel how uncomfortable it is. But generally, once they're under and completely submerged, then there's that quiet sound of being under the water. It's relaxing and it helps out a lot. But that's typically it, is the water in and out versus just in or out.
But Sid, I also think that you can have kids who, even though their ears are under, they're still just a little ornery, and some kids just want to move more, like you said. So I feel like you can just move them in a big circle on their back so they feel the motion coming with the back flow. Sometimes that works for us.
I've started sometimes tell my teachers have the kids put their hands over their ears and lay on their back. Then it becomes a little bit more like that kind of back float as well.
I've seen that too. I haven't done that here. Do you find that works pretty well?
Verdict's still out, but it feels like what I like about it is it feels like it's empowering them, and it gives them something that they're irritated by. So hey, you can take care of yourself.
Yeah, it gives them some control.
Gives them some control. Yeah. Just like when we have kids doing our beach lessons and the water gets in their eyes and they want to run up to mom, and I'll tell them to blink, 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 or try their arm this way. And if that doesn't work, then you run to mom. But typically we give them a way to take care of it. But
yeah.
Their first reaction is, go for the towel, which doesn't help the lesson.
Well, one thing we do often here, especially myself when I'm teaching, and the kids don't like to do the back float, and they're just really upset, not crying, just like trying to get up. I'll move them to a step or an area where they can. I can float them, but they can touch the bottom, and they're more apt to like lay back and let it happen. And I'll give the parents the same homework. Do the tub. Not a lot of water, but let them lay back so they can touch the bottom, because I feel the touch has a lot to do with why they don't like to be on their back, in addition to the water in the ears. You guys do that?
Yeah, the step is where I typically like to start them, just because they can, and they have control over themselves too. And then they can relax, and then we can start to just gently move them away from the steps. And but I think one big thing with floating is, either whether it's on their stomach or their back, is we can't just make them float. They have to feel that sense of buoyancy and experience it and experiment with it so that they can relax. Because so many kids, they feel like they're going to fall. And so once they can relax and understand that the water will support them, then they can relax, and they can let the water support them rather than trying to make themselves float.
I feel like that's a complicated lesson to teach.
So hard.
Yeah. Because I have one boy, he's 4, and he's really swimming well. And as soon as it's back float, the first thing he says is, "Don't let go of me." Like, it's okay. I'm staring right at you. I'm like, I can't go anywhere. But, it's all good. Love it. And Linda, I want you to elaborate a little bit on that, if you don't mind, because one of the topics you suggested was teaching them to trust the water. So, moving a little further on that, how do you can only talk to them so much, because, after one sentence, they're really not listening to you when you're trying to say, "Oh, you can trust the water." You can, it's really showing it, right?
Yeah, but I think that experiencing the buoyancy. So just let them play with it, let them hold on to something. And, what happens if you lift your foot up? And this is more for a stomach float. Tell them to put their eyes in the water and let a foot come off the bottom. What happens? And can you be light in the water? Can you be soft in the water? Those types of things. Let them explore it, not just hold them in a float and tell them to float, but let them feel that their body can lift. And I think that's fun for them too. And once they start feeling that, they get that sense of freedom. Yeah,
no doubt. And I just feel like that's such a milestone when that happens. And their confidence, you can just see it in their face. They're just like, "Oh my gosh, I'm doing it." Nothing can stop me.
Well, and it's fun too to let our teachers show them, what happens if you lift your head up and everything sinks, and then if you put your head down, you can float. And showing that visual just, I think, really helps too, because like you said, you can't talk to them, you can't explain it to them. They have to see it, they have to feel it.
Yeah, for sure.
Where'd Sid go?
I don't know. We'll be back.
Disappearing Sid.
Walk about. One thing I wanted to talk about today is, what do you recommend, or do you recommend? I know sometimes when we have people calling about lessons, it's pretty evident that they're shopping around, which is fine. You should. But what suggestions you put forth for the parents looking for a swim school, and they even actually say, so we're just checking things out right now, we're going to call a couple others? And what do you recommend to parents who are looking?
Do you want to go, Linda? That's a great question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, shopping around, it's important. I think most important for me is the ratios of student to teacher and teacher to student. Small group lessons. You want to make sure that the facility has, safety precautions in place, obviously. The teachers are trained. Is there a lifeguard on deck? We want to make sure that there's a progression that they're following. That's one of the things. And I think nowadays people are really into reading your reviews on your social media and on your website and different forms available. So make sure that you have read the reviews and talk to parents that have had the experience with us. That's what I say.
Yeah. Linda?
Well, I think that they have to, I think philosophy is important. What's their philosophy? How do they want their children interacted with? Do they want a forceful process? Do they want a loving process? I think philosophy is a big one, because you can learn to swim a bunch of different ways, but how it's done is so important. So I really think philosophy. What's your school philosophy? How do you get kids to learn? What do you do with the swimmers? How do you motivate them? How do you engage them? That sort of thing.
Sid, we're talking about what suggestions you might have for parents who are inquiring about lessons but haven't signed up yet. What suggestions or recommendations do you have for those who are shopping around?
I typically, I feel like people that are calling and shopping around are either wanting to have a free trial lesson, which we don't do, or they're, we don't have that as much. I mean, if we have spots, they fill up, so I don't really have to do a lot of selling. They may not like an outdoor pool. We have to talk about that. We keep it 90 degrees. We may have to sell the temperature, but I really don't have to.
Well, okay. So then what would you recommend to parents who are watching this and don't have kids in swim lessons yet, and they don't live in LA? Like, what are you going to recommend to them when they're searching for a swim school?
Well, I think the most important thing for me is the ratio. It's that 4-to-1, 5-to-1. I got to be comfortable with that. If it's going to be 4-to-1, then you want that because it's priced and you're price sensitive. If they're just starting out, I'm not crazy about a group class. I want a 1-to-1 or 2-to-1, to just get it going, or a parent taught class. I would find out the temperature of the water, because, we also rent a third location that's a high school, and that water is cold, and we try to tell them to get wetsuits. So it's more about temperature and class size, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think all of that's important too. And I am also aware that they are shopping around, whether or not they're just going to go with the cheapest lesson or whatnot. So I'm actually have in the past and continue to do so is just say, hey, if you can tell on the phone or when they come in that I'll come back, I'll call back. Say, hey, when you're with me, make sure you ask these questions. So then I think you're building a trust there. If they're comparing you to someone else, but even if you're out of town and not near me, I would recommend asking the swim schools, how much training do your teachers have? Can I come watch a class?
Right.
Can I observe? Are parents allowed to watch? Some don't let that happen, and I would think you want to be able to do that. So I do offer those recommendations and suggestions to parents just so they can be more aware of what they need to look for at a swim school, because let's face it, they're trusting complete strangers with the safety of their children, so you want to give them as much information like that so they can trust you. And I'll even say, hey, if you go somewhere else and you have questions about it, feel free to give me a call.
Also, too, our affiliation with the Swim School Association and our quality of lessons that we see, I do recommend that people, if they're traveling or moving to a different town, and we get it all the time because people move to Jersey from California, Texas, wherever, and I get a call that I was at Emler Swim School or I was at Hubbard's, and they recommended you because you're a part of the association, and and explaining to them that we don't teach you the exact same lessons, but we do have the same standards of excellence. And we do keep a higher level of commitment to our progression, and it's our vocation. It's not a fly by night. We want you to know that this is what we do, and this is all we do. And I've been doing it for all my life. So that's important too. I think for them to understand that you're affiliated with a swim school association, so important.
Definitely, and that it is a profession. I like when the parents say, oh, I just can't teach him at home. He's not listening. Like, okay, well, I'll train you if you want to be a teacher. But anyway, well, I think we got some great information here. I hope you three enjoyed chatting. I hope we'll get some good viewers. And those who view later, I just want them to know that you can make comments later and we will address them. It doesn't have to be live. Like if you end up watching it another time and you want to ask some questions, that we are here. And we love talking about swimming.
My email address is on there too. If you have any questions for me specifically, I'm in New Jersey, so joe@njswim.com. I'd be happy to answer anything for you guys. And like Kara said, we do share this unique vocation, and I was just happy to meet you guys, and you do what I do, and I do what you do, and we get together periodically, and we share good times and laughs and stories, and learn from each other so much over the years that I think there's such value in that. So we're happy to share our information, which is great.
Yeah. We all make each other better by being together and sharing ideas.
Yeah, we can totally geek out on talking about swimming.
All day.
We'll go to those conferences. We'll be like constant talk. What about that? And we were supposed to have our conference next month, which we're not. So I'm glad we have this opportunity, and we can do it again. So if you guys ever want to jump on the show again, Sid, this is your second show. This is the 9th Seahorse Tales altogether. But I want to thank you guys for being here with me. And I also wanted to share that for those people viewing, or if you know parents who they need swim lessons, or they're not in an area where they might be able to find some, there are water safety curriculums out there that you can teach at home. Like I have created one at flswimschool.com where it gives you all the materials you need and all the information where you can teach your family at home about water safety. So you can just be safe and be aware and be educated. So that's what it's all about. And again, thanks guys for being here. Love you.
Super happy. Thank you.
See you soon. Be well.
You too.
Join us on the Swim Monkey.
Swim Monkey TV. On the Monkey.